So this is an introduction to assignment 3, creating smart objectives. So each of you has goals and objectives that you've worked out with your site supervisor. Today I want to make sure that you know about a format for looking at objectives that's called SMART. And we'll go through each one of those letters as we go forward, and your assignment will be to take one of your goals, one of your major goals, look at each one of the objectives and smartify those objectives. So here we go. So we have two items on our agenda for today. One is to look at goals versus objectives and talk a little bit about how those words can be confusing sometimes in the literature. And then we're going to talk about those SMART objectives. That's an acronym, SMART. More about that soon.
So, in the literature on goal setting and creating objectives to reach those goals, the two words goals and objectives are rather confusing. I've been looking at management literature for years and looked at some stuff for this particular presentation, and once again I was confused. So I'm going to use my own language so that I at least can be straight. So for me, goals are broad and objectives are the building blocks of those goals. This is the definition that we will try to stick with in class. But some resources that we will look at will confuse the language. Just try to remember broad is goals and narrow and step by step are objectives. So you have some very broad goals that you have created with your site supervisor. Here's an example of one. Learn how to manage a public library collection. So what are some objectives that will help you do that? And you'll notice that objectives are, first of all, more specific. And there are two of three of them here. Okay. But, not but, so here are these three different objectives. So we're just going to focus in on objective 1. Find out what sources are used by the YA subject specialist in the library you're working for to find new YA books, young adult books. Okay? So we're going to look at those objectives and make them SMART. We're going to make it specific. We're going to make it measurable. We're going to make it attainable, which means you can finish it. We're going to make it relevant to the overall goal, the big broad goal of learning about collection management. And we're going to make it time bound. We're going to give a specific amount of time for you to achieve that objective. So the big overarching goal is find out, not the overarching goal, sorry. The objective 1, the first objective, is find out what sources are used by the YA subject specialist to find new YA books. Okay? Be specific. Who is the YA subject specialist? What exactly are you going to ask them? And Well, we'll get to when in a minute. Find out when they work and make an appointment. So that's a measurable objective. When do they work? Make an appointment. Keep that appointment. Find out what sources they use. Very measurable. You have go from 0 to some sources. But are there others that that particular YA specialist doesn't know about? Well, how are you going to find out those? And so that gives this sort of sub objective of possibly looking at young adult librarian blogs, other kinds of objectives, but keep those out for now. It's just something that you want to keep in the background to create new objectives to reach your overarching goal. Okay, so back to our SMART. Okay, it's specific, it's measurable. What's the attainable outcome? Well, it's going to be possibly a list. How are you going to keep track of that list? That makes it attainable and adds to the possibility of measurement. So you're writing down, how am I going to keep track of that list? Are you going to do a Google Doc? Are you going to do a LibGuide like thing? Are you going to create a Zotero list? How are you going to keep track of that list? You want the objective to be relevant. Well, of course, this is relevant to your overarching goal of the public library's collection, because the YA collection is only one part of it. And you want to put a time on it. So are you going to do this the first week that you're there, the second week, the third week, by the end of the first month? You set that time goal. Now, you only have 12 to 14 weeks. So some things you're going to need to accomplish before you can do other things. So you want to make that time-bound portion relevant to your other goals. So when you do this exercise, when you smartify the objective, one objective to reach one of your goals, then you need to figure out which one of the goals needs to be done before other goals can be reached. So this is what I would like you to do for one of your goals for the practicum. Break it down into SMART objectives. You should have 2 to 3 objectives for that one goal. Okay?